Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Proving Ground Circuit Qualifier number 2. Last week was such an exciting week full of games, and I'm really excited to be joining you all here for our second week. My name is Sierra Dawn. I'm going to be your desk host for today, and I am joined with the lovely RMC RBM. How are you two doing?
I'm great. I'm ready for some video games.
Just simply put, I love it. RMC, how about you?
Well, I'm excited to be back, and I'm excited for this particular set of series we've got tonight here. Last time we were on, both series went the full 3 games, and part of me is kind of hoping we might get some of that tonight as well.
We very well could, because our very first matchup, both of them were very dominant last week, so we definitely have a treat to start things off. But first, we're going to go to a little overview of the two groups. So you two, I believe, got to be catching up with Group B last week for your very first broadcast together, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that one, I mean, I saw it. That was a long day. That was a long broadcast. But going into today, we are going to be following Group A. As you can see on the left-hand side there, our very first match, 100 Thieves next, going up against Bogged. As we were just saying, both of these were 2-0 matches. So what do you think that really means going into our first one? Do you think this is also going to be a 2-0 RMC, or do you think this one could be a little closer?
Well, for one, I think the stakes are higher this week here, because winner moves right on to the playoffs. Loser of our first match will still have a second chance, but loser of the second match goes home. So stakes are higher, and even though week 1 had both matches going 2-0, if anything, I think that actually shows how close the matches today might be. Both winners looking very, very strong, and both teams in the lower bracket as well, I think will be willing to show a lot more. I don't think they'll be keeping anything back in this series, because like we said before, loser goes home at this point.
Yeah, and at this point for our very first match, of course, they haven't dropped one, but you want to get to the playoffs and you want to do it easily. But we do have a little montage of what happened in week 1 for anyone who might have missed it. All right, not quite ready, just kidding. We're gonna talk a little bit more about things first. RBM though, just kidding, it is ready now. We're gonna go right into the montage. We won't keep you waiting longer.
And how much can you commit to this? That's exactly what they're doing. Can they actually secure this buff though? Into the pace! He gets the steal, City when he gets the kill as well! And this is disaster for EGP! Scatter the weak are EGP! The strong are Ginger!
On the other side as well, Cannon Barrage doing a huge shot to zone out. Mabad is stuck in the enemy team, but has so much healing with the Gorge Drinker still unable to go down. And on the backside though, Inori is able to pick up 2, and Kenji is now getting chased down by the horse. It is Bogged winning out on the fight as Avano and Kenji are the only ones still left alive on the Eagle side. Avano trying to do anything to stay alive, but he won't be able to. Tuesday with a double kill, and Inori finishing what he started here on to Kenji. A clean ace, only D-Shao going down.
Fully committing to the end. Anime Girl up in 20 seconds. That is the mid lane inhibitor turret dead. Ezra ultimate used into the base, Tesserux.
Oh, here we go. Call
the minions!
Goes off to go after Shochi, able to get the knockback on Shochi. Shochi falls before getting the shockwave off. But the minions are taking down the base. The minions are doing work. Redbird have to do work faster. They're going after the Nexus Towers, but the Nexus Towers
the
TP! Healthy. Trevor doing
Anime Girl's doing it!
After the Nexus Tower number 1, it will fall. There's Anime Girl. He's
Anime Girl!
the base. He is going for the back door. Structures are getting destroyed.
No way!
Some way! Immortal AoE! Backdoor Redbird!
I can't believe what I just watched!
Fear in return, no deaths just yet. Auto Orange unable to get into the pit, hops up the wall with the
Steal it!
manages to steal the Baron! How does he do it? Maryville managed to take away the one thing that could have put Nameless Randoms in the driver's seat, but Nameless Randoms aren't done yet. Cornered inside the pit, Rocket connect, and forward they go! APA going golden just in the nick of time, and Maryville continued to...
this. Actually, we're seeing a flank with the charm.
Three-man charm, but it doesn't do any damage. It doesn't do any damage. They're not here yet, but it has bought time. It's bought time, and they're locked up. Griffin has to run away. The reposition comes through, but there's a reset for Scoop. Can he carry the fight? Scoop's got 2. Jeremy's in trouble. It's gonna be 3. It's gonna be 4. Scoop may have given no team away. Back into the game.
Scooped with the ace. What a gutsy call.
I don't even think matters, but what it does allow third party to do is send an extra. Oh my god! Oh my god! Samuto.
Samuto going for the flank.
There's a flash in. Shadow Surge going in. Double stopwatch. Will it be enough? Evan RL is flashing out. All he needs to do is get a reset, and this fight can be won. Out of wit will be the sacrificial lamb, but it's a 1-for-1. And there's Munchie going in to get a second.
Still alive.
He has to kite back, but the rocket will take him down. And now PCL is coming from the flank. He's already got 1. He's already got 2. And this is the death knell. Maryville Saints are marching into the enemy base.
All right, I just gotta say, I think that was a montage worth waiting for. I mean, that backdoor, that Immortals game, like chills. That was a lot of fun to watch. But that's not the one we're gonna be focusing on for today. As we mentioned, it is gonna be 100 Thieves next, going up against Bogged for our very first match. And RBM, you had a fun way of describing these two teams.
Yeah, I kind of said this series is like boomers versus zoomers. Like the Bog roster is like all the old dudes like my age, and 100 Thieves X is mostly, you know, younger kids trying to come up into the scene. So I think it'll be pretty fun in that kind of spitting that kind of narrative around this one.
It'll definitely be fun to watch. And how do we think that's going to be shaking up? Because of course there's nothing to be said for just pure experience in a game, but some of the up and coming talent that we've seen out here, RMC, has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and if you follow the first PGCQ here, well, 100 Thieves next dominated everybody, even won it 3-0 versus Golden Gardens Academy, a current Academy roster. So while there's a lot to be said for experience here, it does feel like things are weighted on the side of 100 Thieves Knicks, and Bogged, they're the ones who actually have to prove their veterancy status here. There's a lot of experience, and they played very well against Winthrop, but against 100 Thieves Knicks, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, I think all the experience in this roster is definitely really interesting. We've even, like, in the Bogged roster, you've had players that were coaches in the past already too, so they definitely have to have a lot of game knowledge behind them, trying to figure out, you know, how we're going to make an identity around our 5 players. It's going to be something really interesting to try to see how it goes down.
Yeah, definitely. I love that you brought up the fact that a couple of these players have been coaches. The fun little tidbit for today, Dishao actually coaching last year Sniper's older brother Viper. A little bit of a family affair here. I think that'll be really interesting to see. Maybe the players don't care as much, but I think on our end, that's something really interesting to keep an eye out, especially with these two players and maybe what we can expect from them.
Yeah, doubly so, because Sniper has been that hot new prospect pick who's come in and taken the entire amateur scene by storm here in their game against York University. 100 Thieves Knicks played around that top lane so well. You can see from all the KDA stats there, or all the stats, not just the KDA, but CS per minute as well. Sniper is right at the top. In fact, in terms of CS per minute, he's the second highest top lane CS per minute here, the highest CS differential at 15. And then you look across to Dishao here, and I don't think the stats do Dishao full justice. Dishao did pick more scaling champions in the series there. And Dishao, the other big thing about Dishao is not only did he coach Viper last year, but he was also the coach for No Org, the amateur team that won the first Proving Grounds in spring 2021 here. Very strong cerebral player. And we say that 100 Thieves Knicks beat GGA last tournament, but Dishao had to beat multiple academy teams to take the entire Proving Grounds back in 2021 spring.
Yeah, it'll be awesome to see how that's going to come in today. Like you were talking about the fact that Dishao's stats don't necessarily maybe prove him justice. And I don't think maybe proving him justice too, just on potential leadership status that he could be playing on the team and just trying to, that experience, that especially being able to coach in the past. But going into these players, of course, that being our head-to-head, we do have a couple of clips for a little bit of what we can expect from each one of them.
For sure. And we'll start with Sniper here. Sniper had so many clips you could take away here from the series against York Lions, but I felt like this is one of the more quintessential ones when he gets punished, kind of gets picked, and you can see that Fnatic's kind of low. They're both low, but this is why you have Sniper. He's got that clutch factor, it feels like, where whenever he's in a bad spot, he still manages to turn things around, still have that impact as well. Granted, he was kind of hit at the point, but all those advantages came from better laning, from good team play as well, and things that he earned up to that point.
Yeah, and I think we also have to take it with a grain of salt because they're playing York University. Like, gotta like like no flame at all, but like, you know, I think this is going to be a much better test since the GGS series. I think we'll have a real sample size now of, you know, how is General Sniper improving, how is all of 100X improving. Because it's been a while since that series, and they really haven't had too much of actual competition. So it should be really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, Sniper is going to be going up against Nishao in lane, and we do have a little clip to just show off what he's able to be pulling off as well. Going into this, I would love to hear your thoughts, RBM, on this.
Yeah, I mean, this is again another collegiate team versus another Gigastack team, so you know, it's unlucky for us and the boys, but D-Gao had a pretty insane game in series this time around. You know, the scaling picks, buying a lot of time, late game security. It's also like, you know, Tuesday Rise, and like I feel like throughout this team they have so much maturity to not throw games later on into the game by making silly mistakes and stuff like this. So making these late game scaling drafts are going to be really beneficial for them, especially, you know, if they keep the game paces as slow and they keep up good communication, which they definitely have, having so many players that have played for so long. They have a clean cut identity that'll work for them really well if they can stick to it and not vary from it too much.
Yeah, well, RMC, do you think going into today's match, especially since RBM was talking about this maybe being a little bit more of a test for the top lanes, that is something that the teams are going to be trying to play through? Is their top lane, or maybe trying to focus somewhere else, knowing that, you know, the top lane on the other end is also quite strong?
Yeah, it will be interesting because I expect 100 Thieves next to continue focusing into their top lane. That is how they've decided to play through most of 2022 so far. Bogged, on the other hand, honestly don't actually give Dishao too many resources. They trust Dishao to be able to scale regardless what happens in the laning phase there, kind of like what RBM was saying, you know, those scaling picks like the GP we saw in that clip. And instead, what they've kind of found a lot more success with has been that jungle mid synergy between Inori and Tuesday there. Inori looked absolutely disgusting in the series against York University last week, and enabling Tuesday as well certainly made things very difficult to come back when you're controlling that much of the map. But 100 Thieves, Nyx, Fnatic, Insanity, while we don't see them necessarily working or focusing together in that roaming duo very much, both of them individually are amazing players, and maybe in this particular series they might decide to start working together jungle mid to try and match Inori and Tuesday's pressure.
Well, we definitely have our thoughts, but the thoughts that I want to know, most important, we do have the pet predictions as well. I know my cats are in the background throwing a fit. They want to get involved. And we have a little clip from Smack's cat as well on who they think is going to be the champion of our first match.
All right, Pat, I've got two treats here. Left hand is for 100 Thieves next. Right hand is for Bogged, all right? Here we go. Well, he's going for the he's going for the full bag. He's too smart. Come here. All right. Left hand, 100 Thieves, right hand, Bogged. Here we go. Boy. Oh. It's 100 Thieves. Good job, Pat. Oh. Victor heard their retreats. Here you go, buddy. Right here. Here you go. Victor, come on. Get it. Oh my God, Pat.
Victor didn't even hesitate to run over to the left hand. There's a treat still in the right one, but instead going to the 100 Thieves hand. The cats definitely know who they want to vote for today. And we do have, you know, our predictions. I want to know what y'all are thinking about today's match as well. Oh, but we got to get the caster predictions. I can't forget that. I love you too, but we need to know what the casters are thinking for what's going to be going on today. We have a group. My bad. Maybe we are going to go into ours. Apologies. I want to know your guys' thoughts, though. 100 Thieves, going up against Bogged. How's this going to be shaking up, RBM?
I took 100 Thieves next 2-0 on Bogged. Every time I'm on the desk, I always predict 2-0. I think this one actually won't be a stomp like all the other games that I said would be stomps. I think this one will actually be pretty close. But I think the scaling identity might not be good enough to kind of get Bogged through it. I hope it does, because that's how I like League of Legends to be played. But hopefully, no matter what, it should be a good series. This is going to be, I mean, in my opinion, it's probably the best 2 teams in the tournament just based on the rosters. But, it should be interesting. Should be a spoiler at what could be a final later on.
RMC, I want to know what you're thinking about. If you're agreeing with this 2-0 or have something else in mind.
Oh, this is kind of tough because like RBM said, he's been predicting 2-0s and we got, 2-1s last week. And so it's like, I kind of want to go against him here, but he also said this one's kind of close. So yeah, so, I went with 2-0 for 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves Knicks have proven themselves so far, and it's up to Bogged to change my mind. And like RBM said as well, Bogged, they have the longest average game times currently out of all the teams from week 1, around 35.5 minutes on average in their games. And they were wins. So slower wins, maybe not the cleanest wins. 100 Thieves Knicks, on the other hand, have the second shortest average game times at about 22 plus minutes here. So if we're saying that Bogged wants to scale, I don't think 100 Thieves Knicks is going to give them the time to scale.
Yeah, going into my prediction for it, I mean, I love agreeing with the big brains that we have on the desk. I also went with the 2-0. Going back on the games as well, I 100% agree about the time. Looking at the time, the games are over in 22 minutes for 100 Thieves Next, as well just the massive gold leads that they had. They went out there, they didn't go out to play. They went out there to win. So knowing that, I feel like it could be a very strong showing from them today, though I do think the games are going to be a lot closer. Though I would love to know if we have the caster predictions or if, it's just going to go off of ours, because honestly, the prediction that we needed, the Smacks Cat, was the one that we all care about. But going into this, wow, this is very, very one-sided in favor of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, it definitely should be. If you beat GGA as well as they did, no one in amateur should give you a run. But this one's pretty much one of their better matchups. Should be a good showing of 100 Thieves' improvement, like I said earlier. They really need to step it up and show, they didn't lose any strides. Make sure they didn't get complacent after winning the last tournament. That's a common problem in amateur for sure.
And I've got really mixed feelings actually about the fact that everybody seems to be favoring 100 Thieves Knicks so heavily here, because I do think it's not fair to Bogged. We know 100 Thieves Knicks is the best amateur team, but by a pretty significant margin. I mean, from PGCQ1, they looked untouchable to the bulk of amateur teams. But Bogged didn't play PGCQ1. if there is going to be a team that comes in to challenge them, like RBM mentioned earlier, he thinks this might be a potential finals match. I kind of agree that this could be a potential finals match because they are new to the PGCQ biome here, team Bogged, but there's a lot of experience here. And when they played against York, played against Winthrop, they looked really good. And so I would like to see Bogged bring this to a much, much closer game, be it 2-1 or even just a very extended 2-0, and, show that 100 Thieves Knicks is not invincible. They still have things to improve on.
Yeah, I definitely found it really weird that no one picked Bogged, but people actually picked York University to win their series. So I was like, that one I'm really surprised on as well. But Bogged is definitely, this roster's talented for sure. And I'm really intrigued. I think it's definitely being slept on for everyone to pick 100 Thieves Next. Maybe 100 Thieves Next is just that good, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, it doesn't show on that one whether, the casters are thinking these are going to be the 2-1s, the 2-0. So, maybe it's not... Oh, it's pretty one-sided. Okay, I can't quite dismiss that. But maybe you know, maybe they were a little bit conflicted on that. But I would also love to know at home how everyone else is feeling about the match. Of course, if you want to get involved on the conversation to potentially see your tweet on stream, you can tweet the hashtag We Are Unified. Let us know what you're thinking of the matches, what you think of what you've seen today, or just if you agree with these cats. They're pretty cute. I mean, I think they're just on the right path along with that. But we're going to have to see if this can be as close to the series as we're talking about, even if we are putting this heavily favored on 100 Thieves next, you know, court. Or, you know, if there's going to be a little bit of an upset. Because I feel like if there's going to be an upsettable match, that this one really just could be it, RMC.
Potentially. I think today and tomorrow, I think just this week in general, there's a lot of potential upsets. PGCQ2 has had a lot of craziness already. I mean, only half the teams that made it into the last event, or PGCQ1's main event, actually made it into PGCQ number 2's main event. So yeah, definitely exciting. And like I said, I would like to see an upset here, even if it's just one game. I think it's going to be absolutely nuts. And yeah, we'll see. Draft will play a huge part of it here.
It definitely will. Oh, I'm sorry. We have to throw to casters. I would love to talk after the match because I would love to see a Bogged win and maybe challenge you on a couple of your points here. But it is time that we catch up with our casters and get their thoughts for our very first match. So without further ado, let's throw it over to Dia and Smacks.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Caster Desk. I am Dia, that is Smacks, and we are about to cover one of the most fun series that I could imagine covering on this glorious day, Smacks, and that is because, the analyst desk already alluded to, this could be a pretty close one. We've talked a lot about the top lane, 100 Thieves next, obviously have a really big highlight up there. What I'm concerned about is Bogged not letting them play bot lane 2v2.
Yeah. It's a cool, different story here between these two teams. You know, the old, experienced guys against the younger Zoomers and the new rookies and everything. But yeah, before we get into that, Dia, I'm just excited to get to cast with you, man. I got to steal you away from your usual caster duo. Who's the rude dude now? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
He's gonna kill me later. He is.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
It really is. We get to explore a bunch of different styles, and of course, with these teams that will interact. I mean, I have seen 100 Thieves Next play before, I've cast 100 Thieves Next play before, but I'm expecting this specific roster to play things out a little bit differently than they did just last tournament, because they have continued on their anime arc and have largely gone unchallenged so far. But you and I have talked a lot about how resources continue getting funneled up into the top side. Last tournament, it was counter picks. Now it's actual attention from the junglers.
Yeah, I'm really pumped that 100 Thieves are actually giving a lot of gameplay resources up to Sniper, or at least they did in their last series against York Lions. If they can do that against Bogged as well, that's going to be really cool, because like you said, Dia, they do really like to give a lot of priority to Sniper in the draft. I say that, and they actually are on blue side here, so there is a very real possibility that they don't get counterpick for Sniper. Nonetheless, I'm sure they feel very, very confident in his capabilities up in that lane against Dishao, who is more of the like stoic leadership guy in the game so far for Bogged.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to be an interesting dynamic where Dishao should be able to still shot call everything while dealing with the storm, and that storm is going to be a really big one that I'm hoping Bogged can answer back with. We alluded to it a little bit earlier, and Fresh Ban already does signal that keeping some playmaking out of the bot lane. The Heck Room is really interesting to me, though, because Inori played that excellently just last week.
Keeping some hooks away from Hooks himself, and also a couple of junglers away from Inori. I really like the Hecarim for this guy as well. Like you said, that game that he played on it was really, really stellar, and really made a lot of the plays himself on this team of just like huge veteran names. So really big ups to Inori, who did actually play pretty recently in the Team Liquid substitution games for Proving Grounds. He didn't make it all the way to finals in lieu of Armeo going to Worlds for Team Liquid. So Inori has some pretty recent experience playing at the highest highs. And yeah, Hecarim definitely looked like his strongest champion alongside this respectful Rek'Sai ban. That's off the table first. I think that's really interesting too.
Yeah, it is a very early presence jungler. Rek'Sai is terrifying both in jungle and in lane when she eventually gets there, so I'm glad that we see it taken away, but I am really curious about what it's all about, what scrims have revealed to us behind the table. The Xin Zhao, that I'm surprised fell through all the way to 4th pick, finally ends up getting snapped up by 100 Thieves next. Fnatic gonna make excellent use of that, but my curiosity lies heavily around the Tahm Kench selection in this bot lane. Are Bogged taking a step back?
Well, it's not a Hook champion, so Hooks has already thrown that out the window, of course. And that's probably going to be the last joke I make for the rest of the day about his name. Probably not, actually. Yeah.
I doubt it, yeah.
I doubt it, too. I do really like the
brand.
Tahm Kench. Yeah, you're right. I do really like the Tahm Kench in this meta. They, of course, did just recently give it more of a movement speed buff when you're devouring an ally, which is really big. You can provide so much extra safety, specifically against Burst, for whatever carry that you devour in those late game team fights. And, of course, it is still its ultimate ability. It's not quite as strong as it used to be, where it was on a 20-second cooldown on its W. But it does still provide that same amount of utility, and sometimes even more as well, depending on how well you can use the really big shield that you get out of that ultimate. So I do like that as in combination with the Aphelios.
Shield a massive part of that, actually. Having seen that save people multitudes of times, Tahm Kench is going to provide incredible utility, but it is mostly for the Aphelios right now. Taking a look at the other counterpart that's been picked up, Volibear, evidently in response to the Xin Zhao right now, is going to be more of a front line, and it feels like, at least at the moment, Bogged are thinking about playing this front to back, and I want to see them get a little bit more oomph behind them. You want a mid laner that can put up some serious damage numbers, and hey, if they like cats, perhaps Victor.
Going into front to back specifically against a first pick Jinx is also a questionable decision. Because that Jinx is arguably the best champion at playing that playstyle. So Bogged, you're really going to have to throw in a couple of more quirks to this draft if you're really going to defeat Jinx at her own game here. I'm specifically looking at Tuesday, potentially pulling in something like the Assassin playstyle that we saw last week. The Akali was really good for him. Not quite yet. We are first going to take a departure and go for a blind pick Jace into Sniper. Very good.
That is a very confident pick. That's a pick that I don't think that I would have expected, gambled on anything. I wouldn't have felt safe, but evidently Bogged do, and does give counter pick over to 100 Thieves next. We didn't expect this to happen. Now they've got the opportunity to grab something into the Jace. I do say it is relatively difficult to counter pick that Jace, but an interesting pivot here could be made. You could try and double down on that front to back. That is the option that 100 Thieves next find themselves up against. Bogged instead gonna have counter pick in the mid lane into a Corki, no less.
I like those respect hovers. In case you missed it at home, you just hovered Shen and Yi. I'm not gonna paint it any clearer for you than that one, but Aatrox as the final lock-in. So yeah, just full front to back as well for 100 Thieves. They're fully buying into this ideology, and Aatrox is gonna be a really interesting one into this Jace. I mean, speaking of LCS memes as well, I mean, we all saw Summit just crush everybody on Jace, so NA Jace is at an all-time high. Maybe D-Shao can bring some of that here, alongside that Akali that I mentioned for Tuesday.
Investing now in what seems to be an ever-fleeting stock. We'll see if it works out. The Akali also providing a lot of value, however. For a composition like 100X's that wants to play front to back, Akali does provide a way to break that, and Volibear, moreover, can join her in this, providing this initial and secondary engage. I think that one of the things that we do have to worry about when it does come to specifically the Bogged team composition, they haven't got a whole lot of engage outside of Graviton Moonlight Vigils and maybe lucky Tahm Kench bumps.
Yeah. You did ask for them to pack some more damage into this competition, and they definitely did that, because they have the front line of Volibear and Tahm Kench, these very stable, shield-heavy champions that will survive a very long time in that front line. So for Bogged, with the way that they drafted that, it is going to be a lot on D-Shao and Tuesday to bring all of that damage to the forefront of this game and really start to assassinate these backline threats. Because if you look across the board, 100X, they've got Insanity on his classic control mage / marksman Corki that does a whole bunch of different things in this game, and Array on a hyper carry. So Akali is going to have to do a lot to kill both of them, probably.
That's where Inori comes into the picture, because the analyst desk did tease the jungle mid synergy earlier, and I really like a Volibear Akali as a roaming combination, especially with Volibear's, I think, classically underrated ultimate, especially for the tower dives that Bogged have already demonstrated a proficiency in. I'm really worried for the bot lane of 100 Thieves next. Array and Sword have a lot to think about when it does approach this mid game, and especially once level 6 markers are hit.
Yeah, and Array and Sword, they specifically have to worry about that because Bogged really does like to just send everybody down bottom lane. We saw that against Winthrop in both games. They were no stranger to just like 4-man bot. Even though teleport's not really a thing anymore before 14 minutes, they just leave D-Shaw up there like he can scale, it's fine. He's playing Jace, he'll get it through all this grudge eventually, it'll hurt. We'll just send everybody bot lane and make sure that Benji gets a lead. And I really like this strategy for Bogged. It does provide them a big angle to play through, because other than that, to me, Bogged has really felt like 5 guys trying to just outgame everybody. And they're pretty good at that, right? They've got the experience to definitely do that. It's the moments of team play that really impress me for Bogged and show us that, hey, these guys still got it.
Yeah, and all of these champions have individual playmaking tools as well. They haven't got something like, say, a Corki that is very team reliant, or even a Jinx that is very team reliant. 100 Thieves next are relying on this synergy to be the difference maker between them and Bogged, but in any individual pop-off performance from Bogged, a single catch can change that game and can put 100 Thieves next at a deficit, especially if early on they start to fall behind in that bot lane. Their front to back, in quotes, would very quickly fall away, as Bogged have a lot of safety to defend from things like the Xin Zhao and the Aatrox, and they're going to have plenty of backline damage.
I think it's safe to say that the two of us are pretty pleased with what's going on here for Bogged's draft, and in order for this game to be close, I think that has to be true, because we've talked to no end about how good 100 Thieves next are. In the last tournament, they won everything, sweeping everybody, only losing a single match to Team Ambition, and that is including Golden Guardians Academy, who, in case you haven't noticed, are first place in the Academy round robin right now. So, 100 Thieves, this Academy, this amateur team has already taken down the best Academy team 3-0. That's
looking
a good side for Proving Grounds.
looking unchallengeable, like they're quite literally out of their league right now. And so I'd like to see Bogged sort of bring them down to earth, say, hold on, we got challenges for you here, we got things to worry about. I think York did demonstrate a bit of that just last week, though they didn't end up winning the matches in total against 100 Thieves next. They did actually throw some curveballs their way, and it was around that southern end of the rift. I'm expecting Sword specifically to really step up this week, and I think in the Vision game is where we'll notice him the most, because I'm thinking about Rakan, and of course, Rakan loves to engage, but Sword's fundamentals are the thing that have to be on point in order to survive Bogged's game plan.
You know, Dia, you're 100% right on that, but I do think that,
however,
it's more southeast than just pure south. Because if I'm looking at that box, you know, south could be the blue team's nexus. So.
That's true. Okay, it could be the tier 2. It could, yeah. I need to be more specific here. I'm worried about the whole southern quadrant, but yeah, this is. I think it depends how far they end up going. At least initially, though, the entire, I'll say bottom side this time, is going to be pretty action-packed, and I mean that more in the case of the junglers than anything else. Both starting off on their respective blue and red. Inori and Fnatic pathing up towards top lane. I'm surprised to see Inori doing it. Fnatic, not so much.
Pathing away from bottom lane. We've talked a lot about how Bogged really likes to path towards bot and really just attack that lane relentlessly. This is the same thing that 100 Thieves next played against with York, as we were saying before. They really just did camp the bottom lane for the entire time, while he was really trying to make sure that that lane got ahead in the jungle. So to see that not being quite the case so early is pretty shocking. Considering it was rather effective against 100 Thieves next. We definitely expect Array to be a premier marksman once the late game continues, but we did actually see he and Sword did fall victim to a lot of those early ganks that York threw their way.
Insanity doing a little bit of cyberbullying in this mid lane as Tuesday is not having a good time, and it is to be expected. The melee into ranged matchup not favoring the Akali pick, at least until she gets access to that level 6. And so Insanity's got to take this time where he is relatively safe from the Akali to do what he can. Snapper's got a wave over by his tower, though, and for a team that likes to pay attention to the top side, it's a good place to be in. Doesn't give him a lot of chance to respond, however, to the skirmish that is potentially happening in the jungle right now.
Great stop, Shadow going to be low coming into this, but Inori already smites it.
Already Skull Trap secured. Flash right on to Dishao, though. Ends up taking him down. First blood goes the way of 100 Thieves' neck. And a second and a third, potentially, are to follow. Valkyrie over the wall. Insanity out of mana. And Tuesday may be able to get away, but the flash changes all of that. Maybe 1, 2 more autos should do it. And Insanity collects the third and final kill in a big play for 100 Thieves next.
No mana, but it's okay for Insanity. He has 6 auto attacks coming over to the back of Akali. I counted them, Dia. We're going to watch the replay, I'm sure, and you can count them with me. It was 6. But
those pots were doing a lot of work.
Great. Oh, yeah, the pots were doing great. But this entire fight is predicated on the fact that Sword is already on the way. Look at him on that minimap. He's already at Wolves. He's coming up to blue buff. That's why Fnatic knows he can flash forward aggressively and still come out alive. Because Sword here, he flashes in as well. He's not wasting any time while he's up here. He's making sure this play works out. All right, ready to count? 1, 2, 3, 4.
This was crazy.
5. See? Color caster math. That's 6. Look at that.
That's where I was getting caught off guard as well. I was like, surely this is going to be 5, but that little bit of extra tick of health really did do me in. Down a kill in the mid lane. Tuesday does get set a little bit further behind, but we got a chance to see he's at least ready to play alongside Inori, and while the initial play may not have gone their way, Bogged do still have the fundamentals of the Akali and Volibear that will be coming up at the level 6 mark. So their hope in this early game not entirely gone yet by any means, as Insanity continues to maintain a very nasty wave state here.
Yeah, I really like that move that we saw from him too. He walked into the Akali's range trying to bait out the Shuriken flip, but then in a reaction, he would have used the Valkyrie to get underneath the turret. Tuesday didn't fall for it, so it didn't quite end up punishing him, but I do like the play from Insanity. I can see what he's going for with that one. I can see the gears turning on this this Corki here in the mid lane. And speaking of, Corki, one of the biggest scaling members on the entire Rift in this game, has participated in 3 kills. That's a pretty big bonus going into the late and mid game for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I thought the backline was going to be Array here, but if the gold keeps flowing the way of Insanity, that could change very quickly. We haven't seen too much focus towards bot side. Array and Sword have been farming up pretty well. Insanity is doing his best to keep down Tuesday, who I'm already sold on. Having seen all of the Proving Grounds circuit last year, or rather last split, Zeus was a very big part of that, and Tuesday, a very big part of the roster, going back to the days on Solafide as well. This mid laner, extraordinarily talented. Just haven't gotten to see that in this particular game just yet. I'm expecting that level 6 going to be the point where he explodes already. Recalls being taken by both jungler and mid laner for 100 Thieves next, though, in an attempt to set up this dragon, one can only assume.
And taking stock of where different members are in terms of resources, you can see that Fnatic is down quite a few camps in this game, but it's completely alright because he did participate in those first few kills, getting first blood for himself too, so he's keeping up in experience, and he will probably want to keep farming until he hits level 6 before making another really big play. They don't have their flashes quite yet, so it's actually quite difficult to manage an even fight, especially on this bottom side. Because as you mentioned in the draft, Dia, Akali and Volibear do actually have quite a bit of innate power in that early game, especially with level 6 for Tuesday. And without ultimate, without flash, Fnatic would actually lose out on this fight. We're in mid lane again.
Yeah, Insanity has got all the confidence in the world. He's got that initial Hex Drinker as well as Sword roaming up, so it makes sense that he goes aggressive here, takes a chunk out of Tuesday, forces that recall from the Akali as well as the ultimate, the very first one, and that, at the very least, is going to be a pretty large shift in momentum, though Tuesday will have it back off cooldown quickly. It's a playmaking tool that Bogged are crucially lacking when they should be hitting their power spikes.
Absolutely. They didn't quite need the Akali ultimate for the Drake, but they would have certainly liked to use it elsewhere on the Rift in conjunction with Inori's ultimate now. At level 6 as well. And because of this, Disha will probably just have to play Island for a little while longer. He is playing the ranged champion in this matchup, so you'd expect that he's okay with this, but we've seen Sniper's trading patterns, and they're a little scary, honestly, for Disha. I'm sure he's not the most comfortable Jace we've ever seen.
Yeah, we talked about melee versus ranged matchups earlier, and Sniper is not making this look like a melee versus ranged matchup. It's even, and that is how it is going to stay, as the Stevens do. 68 CS to the 71, and that's not going to change too soon because he's always got the threat of pulling Fnatic up as well. However, Array and Sword should be aware that Fnatic not in their vicinity, so despite the aggressive trading, will ultimately have to back off and go, fine, you called a bluff. We don't actually have backup on the way.
Speaking of Sword, I do actually want to give him a lot of credit in this game, because he of course did make that first play a lot easier for 100 Thieves next, but he did force that first ultimate from Akali mid lane as well. That's 2 very effective roams, and you look across the board at bottom lane, Array's not actually that far down against Benji, who did, I believe, just ult him and try to pressure them out. Didn't quite lead to anything, but Array still staying afloat in this matchup will be even closer once he receives this wave after being pushed in, and that's, by all accounts, a weak side Jinx that Array is playing right now. His support is going completely elsewhere on the Rift, and as a support main myself, I know how difficult it is to actually keep that statement true for your laner if you're ganking everywhere else, especially against the Aphelios and Tom Kench, who can very easily kill you. So a lot of credit to 100 Thieves bottom lane here for staying in this.
A lot of credit to Array's wave management as a sort of singular part of that, because again, you know, so speaking from this support perspective, I feel your pain, Smacks. It really is about keeping yourself in a safe position when you've got so many playmaking tools on the other side. And whenever we tune back in, I'm constantly seeing Benji and Hooks shoving waves in, and it makes sense. You want to keep Array down, you want to keep him from being able to roam alongside Sword, you want to make sure that your jungler can invade, but it is constantly giving a lot more safety to Array for him to play with underneath this tower, and very clearly, the mechanics of farming underneath the tower at this level of play are there for Array. So as that situation continues to develop, Jinx will only get more powerful, and though she has not been involved in any kills just yet, the next couple fights that are largely, I suspect, insanity-centered will start to benefit her.
Yeah, we have the package timer now. It was delayed to 10 minutes on the patch that these teams are playing. Still live right now is... Oh, wait.
Right, getting dove, some very nice snap traps over the wall. Hooks, it does end up getting rooted, but Benji committing the flash does secure the tower dive. Every single summoner expended in that bot lane. Flash ignite for everyone. So that's not going to happen again anytime soon, but it does temporarily, at the very least, cost Array CS and benefit Benji in the turret plates.
Whether I cursed Array for being weak side Jinx or I tipped off Benji and Hooks that he was okay to dive, I apologize to 100 Thieves next. Either way is Disha on the flank.
In quite a bit of trouble right here. Sniper may have overestimated himself, although does have a lot of healing on the Aatrox. Looks for D-Shao, but with the third Q doesn't find him. It is a very quick punish for Inori to roam up, get the stun, secure that extra 300 gold for his top laner, and an uncharacteristic over-calculation from Sniper.
And a very clever timing there for D-Shao, too. He saved his golf swing until while Sniper was dashing, and you just knock him back no matter where he dashed to, no matter what. It's a fixed distance, so you will send him to the exact same spot every time. As mid lane, we have some dicey trades. Ooh. Tuesday might die.
Last one. Rocket flashed as well. Holy, Tuesday gets out, but Tuesday, lucky to be alive, is not going to be able to claim what we're seeing as the setup for Dragon. Thinking back to Sniper's play up on the top side, it makes sense that Inori is not expected to be there because Drake is up, and as a result, does get taken by 100 Thieves next. This Hex Tech will provide a lot of value to them in the upcoming stages of the game, especially that extra bit of attack speed that both Array, Insanity, and Fnatic will have access to.
Inori up on this top side yet again. Sniper, no flash or ultimate this time, so he has to be even more careful than he was before. And being careful didn't quite work out for him last time. He's got a blue trinket this time, so That's actually really interesting. You would usually stay with the yellow trinket if you're staying in lane for as long as possible because they are stealth wards, right? You can't just walk into the bush and clear it with one auto attack. So that's a little interesting for Sniper to swap there. I wonder what the reasoning is, but nonetheless, he does still have some vision available to him alongside that vision plant that we just saw. So just clearing out the path. You can see he is playing rather safe, clearing out some wards and going right back to his top lane duties of, you know, some sort of island play. It hasn't been as loud as we expected off of the last series.
Being able to speak to the fact that Dishao now doesn't have access to the vision as well, and he's confirmed that does make kinds of gambles in this top side a lot easier. But Dishao doesn't want to stick around top side anymore. Instead, going to run into the control ward in mid lane, helping apply a little bit of pressure there, where Insanity quite clearly does need to be kept down. He hasn't opted for the mythic first item, instead delaying that power spike ever so slightly, as 100 Thieves Next already at an even point in this game do really need to stay even or ahead, or at least one would think. I know our analyst desk was talking a little bit about how Bogged would like to play a late game scaling style. How do you think that fits them in this particular composition?
Well, you'd think that it favors Bogged if you only look at their composition, because they have this Aphelios, they have an Akali that can try to mingle with the enemy backline. Oh my goodness, wow.
Oh, that's a very, very dead D-Shao sword popping out of nowhere again, I might add. You notice that Array is grouped up with Insanity in this mid lane in an attempt to get that first lane tower secured. However, bot side is suffering heavily for it, nicely blocked. Super Mega Death Rocket, but Benji is the one that ultimately does benefit from that initial gold burst.
Again, Sword makes a fantastic play, but you can see this time that Array has had enough of playing weak side Jinx. He's like, well, if you're just gonna be everywhere else, I'm not gonna be the bot lane either. They can have that turret, I don't care. I'm just gonna go mid. Ends up being a very wise decision, as 100 Thieves Next do get that play thanks to Sword up top, and they get 2 turrets alongside Rift Herald in one fell swoop. So missing out on first turret ends up being a very goal positive play for 100 Thieves Next. Very clever, again, thanks to Sword's map movements.
Vision control heavily in their favor up towards this top side as well. Bogged have to commit resources to clearing this out, be it in manpower, be it in item cooldowns. And Ori, I was thinking, going a little bit too aggressive for his own good there, does decide that his aggression is better taken out on the Scuttle Crab, the unfortunate punching bag of the Rift, and will provide a little bit of vision to them for now. But unfortunately, with the Rift Herald gone, it is more of a consolation prize than anything. And Bogged have to continue to look for their own plays, which comes back to the idea that they need some way of initiating these plays.
They really do, and they're losing confidence in it as well. Even like the very limited initiation that they have, because of Sword's effect on this map. He's been everywhere, and when the enemy support is everywhere, you have to be careful everywhere.
Right here.
Yeah.
Looking for a play right now. Initial knockup going to land onto Hooks, but the charm still connects onto Benji after the release. Flash away from Sword, however, as everyone from Bogged has shown up in this mid lane, and Insanity still on the way. Lots of cooldowns get burned from Bogged. The teleport from Dishao, one of the bigger ones, as it negates a lot of the otherwise map-wide advantage that Bogged had.
We saw just how effective this Tahm Kench ultimate is at saving a single target as well. To no one's surprise, Devour a good defensive ability when you're saving an ally. But right there, all of these spells, the ultimate from Sword alongside the entire engage, completely negated by Hooks' ultimate. And Benji gets to go back to doing whatever he was doing before, just hitting these minions. No flash needed, no heal needed. This Tahm Kench champion, very, very effective.
Courtesy of the ability that made him broken for, was it 3 seasons? Two
Quite
seasons?
a while.
Something ridiculous. It was like Tahm Kench was absolutely nothing. He had no utility at all, but he had this one ability, and everybody was like, that's exactly what I need in my bot lane. It really did depress me as a support player. I was like, is that all you want from me? Is this all I'm good for? Temporary HP.
The answer is yes. Instant gratification has always been the name of the game for marksman players. So, ooh, wait, Sword in the middle of everyone again.
Yeah, ooh, Benji, maybe misstepping as well. Sword can look for that engage. Should have knockup available soon. Teleport's coming in, and Insanity has arrived with the package right on time to contest this Mountain Dragon. Rift Herald in the mid lane as well, and 100 Thieves are pressuring everywhere at the same time. They don't even bring Sniper down. They say, we've got pressure in 2 lanes. We've got a package. This dragon does not belong to you.
Yeah, Bogged feeling the same pressure that you just exemplified there too. They're like, wow, they used everything on this. I guess we just have no chance. They just leave immediately, trying to pick up the scraps, dealing with the Rift Herald in the mid lane. The secret, though, is as we get another trade mid, that Under Thieves Next didn't actually use everything.
Tuesday?
Because they still had everything available to kill Tuesday.
Incredible that they managed to do that after Dragon plays well, and they're looking for even more. They already know that Hooks is low, but Inori tries to access the backline sword very, very far back right now, and Fnatic with the Crescent card has a lot of survivability. This teleport seals the death warrants of someone. Who will it be? Hooks still has the Devour on Benji. Sniper's teleported in. Dishao now jumping forward, and Bogged want to continue to take this fight. Gravitum available, but Insanity's access to the backline, and the last auto does end up sending Benji to the grave, with Dishao and Hooks trying desperately to escape. The missiles find them, and Hooks may be able to get out alive, but this was never what he intended.
And Bogged teleporting in as well. Tuesday in the ultimate here.
This is that backline access that we talked about, but the second part of the ultimate had to be used defensively. It looked like a double kill and ended up being a flash away, as Insanity still almost trades back. He gets that last rocket and as the backup of his team. He's still alive! How is Insanity doing it? It is wild. It is only explicable by the fact that this is 100 Thieves, and they've been doing illegal things since PGCQ1.
Oh, no way. Insanity lives that the whole time, too. Flashing in to kill Tuesday, cleaning him up. Wow. I can't believe how clean all these team fights end up being in the end. 400 Thieves next. You can see in that last one too, Bogged, they saw the teleport coming in from Sniper and they're like, oh, it's just an Aatrox. We can just kite him out. But Sniper, with the clever usage of the Darkened Blade flashing forward as well, makes that completely the opposite. Really, really like that flank for 100 Thieves next. They keep control of their advantage, and their aggression continues to just be tempered. They're not going for anything too outrageous. They're not flashing underneath these turrets. They're not going past their bounds. They're just taking everything that Bogged is giving to them, and they're doing it very, very well with all of their teamfight mechanics and everything.
Sniper and Dishao waving hello to each other in this bot side as the game continues to be played largely around them. Sniper, well, he was participating in a big way in that last fight. Dishao doing the same. This side lane has been largely inactive, and whenever Dishao isn't there, Sniper continues playing it as if he is, just pushing out the wave, throwing it into tower. It is this Aatrox continual pressure that is changing things up in this top side. Benji, however, with a nice Infernal, does try and start a play. This Crescent Guard doing a lot, though, is Fnatic, Immortal, and Sniper really exemplifying that. Pops right into the mid lane as well. Another crucial Devour, but Tuesday on the backside is a little bit out of position and ends up being more food for the backline than anything.
You're seeing just how difficult it is to play the Akali in this instance because this front line is so effective for 100 Thieves, and they're proving it again.
That was a very nice knockup as well. Inori gonna go down to the Super Mega Death Rocket, giving Array that little bit of extra excitement. Dishao and Hooks left with nothing they can really do as 100 Thieves next, quite rightly so, do walk into the freshly spawned Baron for their next advantage.
Array needs it, man. He needs a little excitement in his lane. He's weak side Jinx as 100 Thieves next go over to this Baron. No smite for Bogged to try to take this one away. The only thing they can do is maybe throw a few Jace spells in there. Oh, that
is when you want an Inferno Moonlight Visual, but at this point, Benji is a little bit out of position. Insanity does get away just barely from Dishao, who himself manages to escape. So it is just the life of the AD carry, in addition to that Baron that gets traded over in the course of those 30 seconds, but it is so much more on the grand scheme of things, because you and I both know that Baron on 100 Thieves next right now could be a death sentence.
Man. You know, in the spirit of pet predictions here, Dia, 100 Thieves next are really playing like a lazy cat right now. You know, they're getting all the food that you give them, but like if you throw something across the room or you like ask them to hang out with you, they're like, nah, I'm just gonna sit on this box. I'm just hanging out. I'm not gonna overreach. If I feel like I have to do all this extra work to go get that kill, I'm not gonna go for it. You can see it at the end of that last team fight where Bogged, they have a few members that are stragglers. You would definitely be able to kill them eventually because they're so low. But 100 Thieves next is like, no, I'm just going to go back home. I'm just going to go sit in my cat bed, eat some snacks, go recall, get some more items, and come back onto the Rift when I feel like it. And I personally love this respectful play.
You're starting to convert me to the Church of Victor right now, just popping in whenever there are kills, whenever there's food to be had. Fnatic constantly seeking out this next treat, however, does end up having a Volibear fly all the way over his head. Array arriving in the fight, however, from the backline with this Jinx makes short work of him. And Nori has gone down. Dishao going to join him underneath the tower, and Array is popping off right now. Even further, running around, a double kill picked up, triple sure to follow, but Insanity ends up taking it away from him, and rightly so, because these two were the crown jewels of 100 Thieves Next.
Benji thought he was safe peeking over the corner, throwing some pop shots in there, but he couldn't have been more wrong. 100 Thieves Next completely blitz him over the wall after wiping his entire team, and they only lose Insanity to what I believe was the turret in the end. 100 Thieves Next take yet another team fight, pushing some more waves onto the turrets, and they get another dragon as soon as Fnatic finishes off that one by himself, because he's got to do everything around here.
Sniper continues to put in the reps on the PvE. He's been playing a lot of Elden Ring recently. You can kind of tell that is not a top laner. His skills participation has not moved since the fight in mid lane. What feels like 8 minutes ago at this point. It was wild how long ago it feels since 100 Thieves Next to take that fight, converting into so much 2 dragons. Now a Baron is theirs, and little under 5 minutes until this next dragon, and if we get to Soul, I think that's already going to be impressive for Bogged.
I don't know if you want this one, Hooks. Insanity just TP'd in with the full package. Yeah, Hooks is just dead.
The 1v1 on the mid laner not going his way in this particular instance, and a secondary kill picked up by Insanity onto Dishao. Tuesday is going to try and make this right. Inori flashing on top of Insanity, but Sword with the charms decimates the team fight, knocking up, taking down Benji, and leaving Inori all alone. Not too powerful in the Volibear in isolation. It was always about being able to be with his team members, but his team members are dead, and 100 Thieves Next are going to try and do the exact same to the inhibitors and maybe even the Nexus right now.
And if I'm Bogged right here, I'm thinking to myself, do we lose off of that fight? I thought that was just a skirmish, but I think they're actually going to lose this game number 1 right here, right now, Dia. 25 minutes in, 100 Thieves Next, take no prisoners, 1-0 against Bogged.
And it isn't through that bot lane. It isn't as we expected it to happen. Bogged never got the chance to do what we know them for, what they do best, take things and make it difficult for 100 Thieves Next, because it was 100 Thieves Next in the top side that had decisive plays from Fnatic, Sniper, and Insanity to seal the deal on an early lead.
You're forgetting a name there, Dia. It was Sword!
Oh, yes.
Sword's Rakan everywhere on the Rift. That was beautiful gameplay from him. And, you know, Array might be upset in the comms. He might be, you know, a little annoyed that nobody played to him. But it was just Sword helping out his jungler the entire way through. I absolutely love the way that he is fitting into this team. You know, the newest member to it. He was playing some games, filling in for Busio earlier in 100 Thieves Academy. Now he's back with his team, and he looks so clean. He fits like a glove on this squad.
And it's really crazy to think that going into this game, one of the things that we were worried about, or not worried about, but that we were expecting from Sniper as a you must be this tall to ride, is wards, just keeping his bot lane safe, and that wasn't what he focused on. Instead, he almost kept his bot lane safe by creating problems elsewhere and took those fundamentals one step further. It was really impressive for us to see live, and I can only imagine that our analysts have a million ways of breaking that down, especially RBM, who I think in his particular role would be quite upset if a support was showing up to these skirmishes. So let's go and hear from them, see what our analysts have to say. Very short.